Speaking of people that were down, but seems like they might have a potential future in the DC universe, and that is Ben Affleck, formerly Batman, someone that reportedly got his cameo axed in Aquaman 2, someone that was initially, before the Batman ever came to fruition with Matt Reeves and Robert Pattinson, was going to direct his own Batman movie, and it was going to be set in Arkham Asylum. It was going to be starring Ben Affleck. Deathstroke as Joe Manganiello was going to be in it. Batgirl was supposed to be in it. Batgirl, probably a sore subject with DC fans. But James Gunn says that DC has met with Ben Affleck because Ben Affleck himself wants to direct a DC film. And they all want to find the right project at DC for Ben Affleck. Obviously, Gone Baby Gone, The Town, Argo, like obviously a worthwhile director to invest in, especially if he wants to be a part of a superhero movie. And I love this because like it's better than like the names that we're getting to see in recent memory with these blockbuster DC movies, right? Matt Reeves is different because like he is proven now to be an auteur. Like he is not the same as a quote unquote superhero director. Here, I think we got Ben Affleck looking to dive into a genre where he can get his hands on something he's passionate about. And it goes with the idea of James Gunn and Peter Safran trying to make quality films at DC, not just films, right, that are going to drive a box office, but they're also going to have, right, some prestige upon them. Ben Affleck, is he going to, like, what characters do you envision him potentially working with? Does it have to be in the Batman universe?
I think this is a tough one. The
So
three
weird. The situation's so weird.
it's so weird. I love how DC though, like still want like I love how DC wants to keep them on because talented directors, right? Talented writer, like you want those in your universe, in your studio, no matter what. But the fact that Ben Affleck's open to this, I think that's huge. He knew that it was time. Like that's amazing to me. He said the only reason why he was playing Batman was for his kids. But like this would be for him, for sure, directing and writing. This would be for him. So that's also like very interesting. What were you gonna say?
What becomes interesting is because people initially think he's going to direct a Batman movie because he was going to direct a Batman movie previously, and people always want to know now. Robert Pattinson, Matt Reeves, like he owns that sector of the DC realm in the multiverse. Will Ben Affleck direct another Batman? I have like with set within maybe the same universe as James Gunn's movie, where they're trying to build this cohesive story. I don't think it's going to happen. Like, I don't think they're going to have a guy who played Batman direct a Batman movie. It seems a little too close to the heart, and it seems like something that only like he's envisioning himself playing the role. That's tough.
I'll,
So,
I'll say like what I want.
but I was just going to say really quick, can you imagine? This is like a what if. This isn't something I want. Can you imagine if he directed the Superman movie that James Gunn's writing?
I just don't want. I want like
It
you
doesn't
said
fit the
three
vibe.
movies. Yeah, like I don't think like James Gunn's writing it. I want Ben Affleck writing and directing. I want him
Oh,
doing
you
both.
want double teaming it.
Yeah, like that's when he's at his best. Like
Okay.
I want him being the true filmmaker and TV. You call it showrunner. Like to actually write it and like your concept, and then you have a director. I don't want that. I want him being the showrunner and director. I want his
He's the
entire
manager. He's
vision.
just running it all.
Yeah, and the three movies you said, part of the reason why they're so great is that like one of them is a true story, Argo, but it's like that's so unbelievable. But like Gone Baby Gone and
Argo takes some liberties, but yeah.
yeah, and The Town, like they're so ready for this. Grounded,
The underworld gritty.
Underworld, right? I want to see that here. And what I would do, like this is what I would do. I would not have a talented director like Ben Affleck being hunkered down by a universe. I would do the Joker route here and do a separate project.
Yeah, I
And
like this.
I would do a separate project and I wouldn't do something that has supernatural abilities. I wouldn't. So like where does that fly in DC? That's tough.
Tricky.
Like you're probably thinking Green Arrow, you're probably thinking someone else. I'm thinking, you ready for this? Not a Batman movie. Not a Batman. What about like a Jason Todd type movie? Or like
Wow. So you
Batman
think a
Beyond,
Red Hood.
Red Hood.
Can't do Batman Beyond. Can't do
I
it.
know that's a little too connected, but maybe a
That's
Jason
down the
Todd
line.
Red Hood that would be pretty nuts, or something like that.
Yeah.
I think is something that can be worked out here.
So Batman Beyond's gonna be down the line. We just gotta be patient. It's gonna happen. It was in the works. Michael Keaton returning potentially,
Oh,
Batman Beyond type story,
so
which
close.
sounds great. But I want to, man, I wish we got to the point where Affleck could play an older Bruce Wayne. He was already like the Dark Knight Returns esque Bruce Wayne, that he only had to wait a few more years and we can do a Batman Beyond. Get him, like, even just gray the hair, dye it, and you'd be good. Okay.
Don't count it out. Don't count it out.
Jason Todd, I like because he has familiarity with the Batman universe. Okay, so that would be the most grounded one. We see it worked with animation so well with Under the Red Hood, one of the most like acclaimed DC animated movies that have come out in recent years. Did you want to? What about my idea that I pitched on the phone last night, Ricky Flex? You remember this? James Gunn's trying to send a message here. And he does that and we talk about the idea of not setting something within a universe, a standalone, maybe even just having their own sphere at DC. Like, let's have him attack like a story within the Watchmen universe. And I think, like, and I mentioned Rorschach, it's a character similar to Batman. It's an underground story. He's an anti-hero like he's willing to hurt people and harm people in order for the greater good. I feel like he could write an insane story centered on probably the most exciting character aside from Dr. Manhattan. Probably the most. So Dr. Manhattan's kind of a plain character based on like who he is. Like Superman's kind of considered a plain character. Rorschach is the exciting one with the dark story. And like when you watch Snyder's Watchmen and you think about Rorschach, you want to see the background. How did he end up the way he did? Like, what if Ben Affleck attacks a story like that? I think there is an audience. I think it's been proven with Joker and now the Batman. Like, it doesn't have to be cohesive there. Like, if you just have a separate sector for Watchmen, I think there is an audience. I think not only this, it's not a big audience. I think it's more of you have a potential to make some really awesome movies, right? And people love grounded superhero, man. It's like pretty much a genre now. It's pretty niche, you know. It's like almost like elevated horror is a genre now with like Jordan Peele, like John Krasinski with A Quiet Place. Like that's a genre within horror. Within superhero films, you have like elevated superhero films. You could do that with Ben Affleck and like Watchmen, I think.
Yeah, that is the answer. If you want that grittiness, grounded story that I was referring to, like the Watchmen would be the answer, and as a separate story outside the DCU universe,
Yep.
that would be the answer. My problem, which also you could counter saying it's a pro, is that it's so recent. Like you just said earlier in the episode, no one watched Watchmen. I think people did, and
Man, I don't know.
like maybe not as many as you would have hoped. Still, a lot of people did. So maybe it's too recent, right? Because we're still kind of attached to those characters, and then also to the Zack Snyder characters. But you're mentioning Rorschach, and I agree. He would be clearly your protagonist in the movie. But think about the Watchmen movie and show that we got. Movie was when they weren't superheroes anymore, and the show was well after that. So I want to see a core Watchmen movie.
Oh
Them
man,
together, like the band back together, like the
tough.
town, like they're together.
Do the
Like
prequel. Do the
do
prequel. It's
yeah,
in the comics.
do the comedian. Like I'm thinking comedian. Like you're thinking
Oh,
Rorschach. Like I'm thinking
oh,
comedian. Get him
oh.
active. Get him involved.
Because it
Prime
takes place in the
comedian.
80s. And there's a whole backstory, there's a whole prequel you could tell. We've seen the sequel, we've seen the original tale. Can you take us before this events of the Watchmen comic book? The
Yes.
one that they allude to. You read it, right? You read Watchmen?
No, I haven't. But I know
You
it.
haven't read Watchmen?
I
I
know
gave
it's
it
on
to
my
you.
list.
I
I know
gave it. It's on your
I have a
desk.
stack of
I
books I'm
gave
getting
it
through,
to you.
Doctor. I have a
Dude, I
stack of
stormed through
books.
that in like 3 days, dude. And
I
it's
know I
a
have a lot of books here.
dense graphic
It's been a
novel.
week. It's been a weak reading year, strong movie
Shout
year.
out Nez. Nez loves Watchmen. But I would say, Ricky, you know from the movies though, like there is a story you tell with characters that carry over to the 80s. That's the only part of the Watchmen story we're missing. Oh my god, that would be incredible.
I think that's the answer. But if we don't want to do Watchmen yet too soon, Jason Todd, Red Hood, make it happen.